And you're on.
All right, late night from Willowdale. It's the end of January, and we haven't done one since, I guess, the middle of December, right? Trump hadn't been impeached yet, actually. He was on the verge of being impeached, but
Yeah,
uh,
4 days away, I think.
so I'm wearing my "Make America Great Again" T-shirt in honor of Impeachment Week. Unfortunately, it looks like Trump will be acquitted uh, uh, within the week, anyways, later this week or within the week, most likely, unless witnesses are called. But we don't know what that's where that's going. And as we're doing this video, we don't know what's happening with that. The Republicans are gutless, cowardly. You can't even describe uh, how do they live with themselves. You know, they know Trump is guilty. They know he withheld the aid to Ukraine to get Ukraine to get Zelensky to do him a political favor and investigate the Bidens. We all know that's true. Bolton's upcoming book confirms it. It was a quid pro quo. No need to go into it. Everybody knows it's true. Trump should definitely be impeached, and not just for this one, abuse of power, obstruction of Congress, but for all the other things that we've outlined in previous videos and people have written about. He's certainly not where he doesn't deserve to be president of the United States. But we'll see how it goes in the next few days. It's unlikely that he'll be removed from office. He's already impeached. He's already impeached. What am I saying? He's already impeached, but it's unlikely he'll be removed from office. So we'll see, and we'll see what the witnesses, if they allow witnesses. It's going to be an interesting couple of days. Trump's pushback on the new Bolton book shows how scared he is, threatening to stop to try to stop the publication of it. So that shows you how scared he is of Bolton's upcoming book. But no, yeah, but we'll see where it all goes. At least Trump was impeached. He deserves to be impeached. And as Nancy Pelosi says, he'll always have the stain of impeachment on him. So, and that's good. So let's move on to, while we're on the Trump thing here, let's move on to that stupid Middle East peace plan that he unveiled yesterday. The whole thing was so laughable. It's hard to contain yourself. And when Trump was speaking yesterday at the White House, he could barely, I think, contain himself. He knew it was all a farce, and he was trying to help Netanyahu's political situation in Israel. You know, Netanyahu, he's being indicted for bribery and a bunch of other things. Trump and Netanyahu, right? The Israeli prime minister, are two peas in a pod, both sleazy crooks. So Trump was trying to help Netanyahu's political situation, and of course the indictments that Netanyahu finds himself under. And Netanyahu is trying to help Trump, and Trump is trying to shore up his base with evangelical Christians and the conservative Jewish community and other supporters of Israel. So none of this had anything to do with the Palestinians or a two-state solution. It was all for political reasons, Israeli political reasons and American political reasons. And there's no peace plan. It's dead on arrival. Everybody knows that. And basically, Trump is basically allowing the Israelis to annex a good chunk of the West Bank. Obviously already recognized Jerusalem, recognized the annexation of the Golan Heights. There's not much land left for the Palestinians, and as someone said in the New York Times, the land that's left for the Palestinians is the stuff the Israelis don't want. So the Palestinians got nothing, and they're not going to get this contiguous state that Trump promises. We'd have to build a tunnel from one place to another to get that. So the whole thing is a joke, and I think it's summed up perfectly by a former Trump official in today's New York Times, Robert Malley, the president of the International Crisis Group, and a former Obama administration official, said this. He said, "The message to the Palestinians boiled down to its essence: you've lost, get over it. You've lost, get over it." Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's over. One thing Trump has done is with his moves and everything, he's the peace process is dead. Okay, it was dead under Obama. It was dead under all the Bushes. It was dead under Clinton. Um, um, the peace process is dead. It never really existed. So he's put a he's he is showing up the lie that the peace process ever was. There never was a peace process. The Palestinians were never going to get their own state. It was all just a lie. It was all just posturing. So Trump has put an end to that lie, and that's good for him because now it's over. The Palestinians are not going to get anything, and most people in the Arab world don't care. So the leaders don't care. Even the Arab populations don't care. So nobody cares anymore. A lot of people in the Arab world, countries in the Arab world, are focused more on Iran, and a lot of them want to actually cozy up to Israel. Hence the name Saudi Arabia and Israel, one country, and you can include the Emiratis in there, and so. But yes, it's over. All the Palestinians, like I've said many times, should fight for civil rights. A country called Israel and Palestine, fight for civil rights, because you're not going to get a state of your own. And in the interim, it looks like Palestine will remain a Bantustan, basically. That's what it will remain, just basically a Bantustan. And it's a horrible situation, but at least Trump has put an end to the lie that there'll be a two-state solution, because there won't be. And the peace process always was a joke, and he's made that clear. So, sorry, Palestinians, as he said, you've lost, and you got to get over it. I don't know what's its future for the Palestinians, but the reaction in the Arab world yesterday was pretty muted. So, the Middle East remains a mess. And I think a lot of people are just tired of it, and no easy solutions. The Middle East only accounts for about 4% of the world's population, and very little of its economic output, other than oil. I mean, they don't make a lot of things. These economies are in disarray. They're dysfunctional. So, other than Israel, none of these Arab countries have economies of any scale. They're totally dysfunctional, totally corrupt. And I can see why a lot of people are tired of all the stuff that goes on in the Middle East. I think certain things that could be done. I think relations with Iran could be stabilized if the Americans would stop applying these vicious sanctions and this incredible irrational hostility towards Iran, which they've had since the hostage crisis of 1979, 80. So. But yeah, if the Americans let up a bit on Iran, I think I think Iran could be very useful in the region, in Central Asia, in Afghanistan, and other parts of the Middle East. I think Iran could be a useful player. The Americans have to end this hostility, and these sanctions are devastating. And again, it's about the weaponization of the American dollar, and it's war by other means, right? War by other means. And there are internal pressures in Iran too, especially after the downing of the plane. And Iran is not. They're responsible for a lot of their own stuff too. So they do crazy stuff, and they're notorious human rights abusers. So they're responsible for a lot of their own crap too. But what the Americans are doing to them is cruel and harsh, and if the Americans let up a bit and try to get along with Iran, I think Iran could be a useful player in the Middle East. I think that's one positive thing. I think that could happen. But the rest, what else? All the rest of the stuff that's going on, yeah, it's still a mess. And of course, parts of North Africa, Libya are still a mess. Oh God. All right, so let's move on from that. No easy solutions. It's kind of grim. But let's move on to two quick topics in the news this week, or in the last couple of weeks, First, the coronavirus. Let's keep things in perspective. Yes, it's deadly and it's nasty and it spreads, but it's not the end of the world. And let's keep things in perspective. So there's a couple of cases now, 2 or 3 cases in Canada now. More people die of the flu every day the common flu every day than die of the coronavirus. Okay, so let's keep things in perspective. Okay, let's not go all crazy and
Start hating Chinese people.
yeah, all this racism and all this crap that's going on. Let's keep things in perspective. The flu, the common flu, kills far more people than coronavirus. I heard one statistic like 6 a day or something. That don't quote me on that, but yeah, I think you're far more liable to get hit by a car than you are to get coronavirus. So let's keep it in perspective and not go all crazy and over the top on this one. I'm not being very articulate, but you know what I'm saying. Let's keep things in perspective. It's there, it's spreading, but it's not the end of the world either, and it's not as bad as SARS. And you know,
People exaggerate everything.
yeah, it's
basically.
so over. Yeah, the exaggeration and it's just and the media sort of craziness is hyped. It's overhyped, and let's just keep things in perspective. Remember, the common flu kills far more people every day than coronavirus ever will. So, and of course that leads us to China. Why this stuff always comes out of China? China's a very strange place, but it shows you the everyone talks about the great strength of China, but this shows you the limit to their medical system, the dysfunction in the society itself, and it shows you that China is not as strong as people keep saying it is. China's in many ways a house of cards, and I don't think it's the threat, that a lot of people see it as. I think it's still a country with a lot of problems, and I think the fact that these nasty diseases keep coming out of China shows that they have some real issues in terms of public health and stuff, and their medical infrastructure. So China, in many ways, is not. They've done well with this coronavirus, by the way. They've really kept on top of it. So give them credit for that. But so is the weaknesses in China's society. Let's just say that, and they're on many different levels: medical, economic. There's so, anyways, China is not the power that a lot of people think it is, and that's important to keep in mind. So yeah, I mean, we could also talk about Russia too, but that's for another video.
What's going on in Russia?
No, just how Putin is maintaining control and
Right, he's now
want to be dictator for life. And Russia's a kind of someone said Russia's a wounded animal, and the country's a joke basically. The economy's a joke, and it's kind of lashing out. They're kind of lashing out. They want influence. They want to take it. Now with the U.S. sort of under Trump sort of withdrawing, they want to take advantage of these things, and they're doing it very well. They still have a powerful military, and Putin is exercising his limited resources really well in the Middle East and Europe and everything. But Russia's in many ways a wounded animal. It's not going anywhere, and but that's for another time. The other story, the hyped up media thing, was on Kobe Bryant. Yeah, it's sad that he died, but this incredible
outpouring
of grief and all that. I mean, really, it's over the top. I mean, the guy was what do you say, Cleve, worth $500 million?
$500 million.
Yeah, the guy was a rich celebrity athlete, and like all these celebrity athletes, way overpaid. I mean, it's ridiculous that what Hollywood stars or celebrity athletes get paid. It's absolutely ridiculous. And when they die, there's all this crazy outpouring, whether it's Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, or Kobe Bryant, and it's over the top. I mean, get a life, people. Really, you know what I mean? Get a life. But the one thing about Kobe Bryant's tragic death, and it was tragic, no question, and the others that died as well, but was that CNN finally stopped talking about the impeachment. The Trump News Network. CNN's a joke, okay? I watch it. Everybody watches it. It's background stuff, but it's a joke. They don't cover the world. They never cover the world. It's something they focus on an issue, particularly American domestic politics, whether it's the impeachment or the 2020 race, and the rest of the world doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. CNN is so focused on the Trump impeachment, they haven't talked about anything else. They haven't talked about coronavirus, the day of the shooting down of the of the Ukrainian plane wasn't on CNN at all. Not even mentioned until the next day, because it was all impeachment. And yeah, they broke away for Kobe Bryant, and of course, they for 8 hours on Sunday, that's all they talked about. But then they went back to impeachment, and yeah, this you can see why a lot of Americans don't know what's going on in the world, because they don't cover American networks. Don't cover the planet. They don't. If you watch the CBC or even CP24, you get a lot more international news. Lots more.
Well, that's if Americans even watch the news.
Yeah.
I mean, I try, but
the newspapers. New York Times is great, and some in the Wall Street Journal and some other papers, the LA Times. They're all great papers, but a lot of people don't read newspapers, and they get their information from electronic media. And CNN is the worst. They just don't cover anything outside of the United States. Now, if you watch CNN International and stuff, it's different. But the main one you get during the day in North America and Canada and the U.S., it's all U.S. domestic stuff. It's nothing but the rest of the world. So you can see why a lot of Americans don't know what's going on in the rest of the world, because it doesn't get covered, and that's sad. And like I said in the previous video, if you want it, you have to know what's going on in the world. Like, if you want to form an informed opinion, so I've rambled a bit. This video went on a little longer, but I'm sorry I wasn't that articulate. But
we're out.
I think we are. I can't think of anything else we wanted to talk about, right? No, I think
Russia would be an interesting thing.
We'll talk more on Russia later.
Okay.
All right.